Hey nerds, we are going to do our review, a breakdown of House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 8. It's the finale, starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I am Colin.
I'm David.
So again, this is the finale of Season 2. The title of the episode is The Queen Who Ever Was. And the spoiler-free logline is, as Aemon becomes more volatile, Larys plots an escape, while Rhaenyra looks to press her advantage. David, what were your thoughts on this finale of House of Dragons Season 2?
I had some high expectations of this episode, but there were some things I did not expect would happen. This whole season was basically a setup to the real Dance of Dragons. And next season, obviously, is where they start the real battle to take the Iron Throne. As we discussed earlier before we start, some payoffs in the whole thing. And there's no loose ends, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with you, David. I think that there is definitely some disappointment online about how this season ended, but some people that did not see the behind the scenes, they spent a lot of money on episode 4, which was the big battle scene. And with the dragons and with the destruction of everyone in the battlefield, they put all their eggs in that basket. So to expect that there would be another battle at the end of this season was very unexpected because of all the labor, of all of the props, of all the people that you have to organize, the weather and all that. It just wasn't going to happen. I just think that we had our big battle scene in episode 4. This was always going to be set up. So I wasn't as shocked or surprised that they left it off like this. But like I said before in previous reviews, they did a very good job of storytelling throughout, because we've seen some instances where setup can be very boring, setup can also be very plotting, non-engaging, but I think that this whole season, even though it was set up, it was done very well, and there are definitely storylines that were wrapped up and things that I felt very satisfied that they finally had some resolution for. So in that case, I think that I really did like this whole season. Even though it may be short on action, I think that the acting, I think that the dialogue, the storylines, the plotting, the scheming were all there. And it really does make it very compelling television. So, having said all that, David, what would you give this season and also this episode?
The season itself, I give an 8 because, as you said, I give credit to the writers for giving a good story and great character development, even the small characters. And for the episode itself, I give an 8 because there are some good payoffs, as we just said already, but there are some disappointments though. But it didn't leave anything loose or open end.
Yeah, I think that I would give it a 9 in terms of this episode because I really like the payoffs that are there. We'll get to those very soon in the spoiler part. And for the season overall, I would say a 9 as well because I love the acting, I love the storytelling. I loved Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra because their facial expressions are just so awesome. Even throughout, it's brilliantly acted by them. And at the same time, there are some brilliant performances also from Olivia Cook as Alicent. She's just really cool. And also the other characters that were in House of the Dragon that are not as well known in terms of name recognition, but maybe because of their roles in this series, just like it was in Game of Thrones, they'll become much more prominent actors after they become part of House of the Dragon or the Game of Thrones franchise. So that's where I'm at with the ratings. Any other thoughts before we get to spoiler territory?
Let's dive in.
Okay. If you like what we have to say about House of Dragon or any of our episode reviews, please share, subscribe. We really appreciate your support, and we are growing as a channel, so thank you very much for that. All right, spoilers ahead. Okay, so we start off with this. And now some people online think that this was a wasted moment because this was a lighthearted type of interaction between Tywin Lannister and Admiral Lohar. Basically, Thailand is trying to find some sort of alliance with the Triarchy here. Triarchy made up all the pirates. They are led by Admiral Lohar, and they had a very fun interaction, mud wrestling. But did you think, David, that this was a wasted time in terms of presenting their alliance, or was it just lighthearted fun for you?
I'd say this is like a yes and no. The yes part is we get to see the Lannisters becoming more prominent in the whole Game of Thrones series, because the Lannisters were the big bad in the original Game of Thrones. And in this series, I expected how the Lannisters came about in this whole story, and we get to see how they started. This whole thing of the Lannisters subplot during this whole scene is basically a setup again. So it's probably something more coming to for the Lannisters that would happen later on.
Yeah, and we get to go from that scene to this scene where Laris, throughout this season, has really been the master puppeteer, like I've told you many times, way back to season 1, but now really clenching his fists toward advising Aegon to go into exile, basically. And Aegon is really afraid because he is now crippled in bed most of the time, and the threat of his brother taking over and killing him. And we saw that back a few episodes ago. And Aegon not really realizing that he still has power, and Lair's trying to convince him, hey, you are still a cripple, but at the same time, you have a lot more to offer. And the way that you can do it is leave and come back as a redeemed character. So my question to you, David, is that do you think that Aegon's going to come back as a redeemed character or something else?
He will be something else because he lost everything, and he wants to take revenge. And one of them is Rhaenyra, who's his primary target, and as well as everyone else that did him wrong. Aemon, obviously, and Daemon himself. I think he's going to be something more ruthless because I read the story, so I'm not going to spoil our viewers here what's going to happen, because he was seen as a scrawny, spoiled brat, and he's desperate to have everyone to recognize him as the king, but he's not. But then Aemon, he's no king. There's even an argument when Aemon arrived to find Helena because he needs reinforcements, and he's like really forcing her to join the fight with him. Helena has no desire of riding her dragon to a fight or kill anyone. Even Alicent stopped him. Aemon's thinking that he wants another powerful figure to fear them, but that it's not working. But then we have Rhaena, who's still on the search for the dragon that's been stealing sheep, or at least killing sheep. She was searching and struggling because she has this feeling that there's a dragon out there and she's gonna find it.
Yeah. Do you think that she is going to be one of the dragon riders? Because you mentioned before that they were 7. Is she going to be the 7th one or the 8th one?
8.
Okay, number 8. Okay. I also get a sense that she's going to save the day because she has been like one of those individuals where she's been struggling. She had dragons not really appreciating her. She also had Rhaenyra cast her out to be with Jane Eyre throughout the season, and it's setting up to be a very good redemption arc to try to save Team Black from oblivion. And there has been a lot of ups and downs for her this entire season. Like I said in the non-spoiler part, been really well done to balance all these storylines and to see all the character development that happens. And Rhaena is one of those that is very fascinating to watch in the upcoming season 3. And then we have Christian Cole, who has also been going through his ups and downs and really being very disillusioned about war, and being also called out by Gwaine Hightower for his frivolities, let's just say. You've had this hate relationship with him this whole season because what he saw back in episode 4 with the dragons laying waste on everything. Do you think that he has a change of heart or any type of degree of righteousness left in him?
Basically, he's thinking, what is he fighting for the whole time? Especially the part when he says to Alicent's brother, saying, we have dragons fight each other, well, we are going to be dusted from the flames. He's wondering who is he actually serving. He's under orders of Aemon right now. Which at first he was doing his conspiracy acts with Aemon.
Right, exactly.
Then later on, he got casted out by Aemon into this. Instead of being the king's guard, he's just a soldier along with Alicent's brother. So right now he's sulking, saying, "Is there more to my life than just this?" Because in the first season, he was a righteous guy, low-born, and then he became one of the elite king's guard.
Right.
But now he got what he wanted, but he's gotten to this mess of poison of this family affair, and his lust for recognition led him to all this mess here. Like, he didn't protect the future king. He didn't protect the current king. Now he's still wondering what's there for me to do, right?
To his defense, I would say, just one little bit of morsel of defense. He did get screwed over by Rhaenyra in season 1. And also he got screwed over by Alicent in season 2. Yes, he's a very despicable character in some ways, but he got played dirty too by a couple of the royalty people that are there. And it doesn't excuse him for anything that he's done, but hey, it has messed him up a lot. Speaking of messed up, Aemon is really messed up by laying waste to Sharppoint, one of the cities for Team Black. And this is a guy that's very desperate. As you said, he was forcefully persuading Helena to come and ride dragons with him. And he knows that he's in a very vulnerable position. And he is like a trapped animal in a cage that's trying to lash out. And we'll see later on in the episode what will happen to him and his realization of what's going to happen to him. But there's a very interesting point, is that his progression. Because he didn't really want to kill Luke in the first place. But now he's bloodthirsty as heck because of what's happened throughout season 2. And his lust for power has really grown since then. And he was just a pure innocent. And just the look of shock that was on his face when he did kill Luke in season 1. That Aemon's gone. Completely gone. What are your thoughts about Aemon here?
I completely agree with you that he didn't want to kill Luke. He just wanted to get an eye for an eye. But then after that, he became the Prince Regent. He had a taste for it. He wants to completely become the king. But the thing is, no one wants him to be king. In order to be a king, you have to be loved by the people.
Right.
And do it for the people. But everything has to go with what I say. But it's not working. Hence, he's desperate. He thought everyone would fall behind him. Even his sister. But his sister's like, no way.
Right. But there is also a very vulnerable side of Aemon. We saw that back in a few episodes ago with him in the brothel. And Aegon basically just laughing at him. And so that was basically his revenge when he did the Dracarys move on Aegon. This is getting back to him. And I think that Aemon is one of those characters where he is definitely a very vulnerable individual inside. But when he gets ridiculed or even slighted in some way, then the really bad Aemon comes out. And we've seen that throughout the first 2 seasons so far. And I think that it's very important to understand that he's not going to lash out unless provoked. So we'll see if someone provokes him even more, because he's very dangerous when that happens. But we shall see where that leads us. These 2 characters are also very interesting. We have Jace here, who's had, again, his up and downs dealing with power. And Baela is really the one that is very steady throughout this whole episode. Very dutiful to Rhaenyra, but also has a voice of reason. In this scene, saying to Jace, look, we all know that you are illegitimate, but for me, I am the daughter of Daemon and Lena. So, talk about illegitimate or not. And I think that she does have a sense of gravitas that Jace does appreciate. So hopefully it will lead to a lot of good things for their future rule, or just some wisdom that is instilled upon them. So there's some levity to the whole war that's upcoming. But it was a very beautiful scene that they had between each other. And this is why I gave it a 9, is these type of smaller scenes that they really spend a lot of time on, brilliantly acted as well, and just gives a very deeper character development that sometimes is lacking in other stories. So we didn't get to see where Jace and Ulf had an interaction, which wasn't very good. Ulf is the common folk, small folk, as they call it, and Jace being very aristocratic, and so Ulf lightened up here. Jace like, no, you should really be ready for battle. And in this scene, Rhaenyra is trying to appeal to the new dragon riders. We have Adam, we have Hugh, and also we have Ulf, basically appealing to them that, look, you have a greater responsibility now. And Ulf's not really taking it too seriously here. And I just love the fact that Jace just stared him down. You better not be starting this stuff up again, or I'm going to be very angry with you. I might chop your head off. Do you think that Ulf is going to rise to challenge, or do you think he's just still going to be this jovial small folk and doesn't really take much responsibility for the power?
Because Ulf is, now he's a Targaryen and he's also a dragon rider. He feels that he has this new entitlement and everything will fall into place with him. But in the interaction, he treated Jace either like a slave or some servant until Hugh say, hey, he's the crown prince.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, oh shit. But the thing is that he's trying to suck up to him.
Right.
And then trying to get into his good graces with the queen. Even Rhaenyra can see through Ulf that his character is way beyond the Targaryen and everything to her standards. Rhaenyra says, once it was over, I will give you guys knighthood and also land.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was a moment we saw Hugh. He felt he deserves more, and he's trying to bring up this hierarchy because he is basically the half brother of Rhaenyra's father. So in terms of rank, he should be good. I think that Hugh would try to challenge the throne and claim it as his because he is the son of the Jaehaerys the First.
Mm-hmm.
And Ulf will be like along the ride and enjoy the riches, in a manner of speaking, of being Targaryen. But I had to point out one thing though, because I sense that Hugh and Ulf trying to plan something because they don't like Rhaenyra's offer of being a knighthood and land. The look on their faces, they look like they want more.
Okay.
And now they have the taste of power, especially with the dragons. I have a feeling that next season they're gonna do something bad to that Rhaenyra, not caught Rhaenyra off guard.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right, we'll definitely see about that. I think that Hugh definitely has much more of a righteous reason, whereas Ulf is going about his own way and very freestyle because Hugh has to take care of his family, and so there might be some legitimacy to why you may think that he had to do what he had to do. Speaking of legitimacy, here we have Adam and Corlys. They've had a very rough relationship throughout the season, and Alan basically calling him out here, saying, look, you weren't there for me for much of my life, so why should I even seek out your help? And basically trying to walk the line of, I am going to serve you well, but I don't expect anything more than that. And I think that's definitely shows some agency out of him to say, look, I've survived without you, but at the same time, Corlys has lost a lot. He's grieving, but I think that he knows that his line is almost dying, and he's trying to reach out to Adam. He's trying to reach out to Alan, but there's no reciprocation there. Go ahead.
He's not much of a father to his own kids, actually. Yeah. And now Rhaenys is gone. He's figuring out what's left besides his granddaughters.
Right.
And supposed grandsons. So he thought connecting with Adam and Alan would do something, but even both of them, Alan and Alan, don't want anything to do with him. So even Alan says that when this is over, I'm gonna go my way and live off how I want it.
So it sets up Corlys to be a very tragic figure, but at the same time, I think that this is a very good resolution to what happened way back with Rhaenys talking with Alan. But then episode 1, where Corlys was saying to Alan, oh, you were the person that saved my life. And then the interaction between Adam and Alan all throughout the first few episodes of this season. So it really is good gift wrap to their story arc of this season. Alan is now part of the of the Sea Snake ships, and Adam is the dragon rider. So we'll see how it all shakes out with the both of them. Damon, we were thinking about what is going on with this guy throughout the whole season here, and he finally bends the knee to Rhaenyra. And this was very satisfying to me because we saw all the pain. We saw him go through the dreams. We saw him go through visions that we'll see later on. And I think that the one that really turned the tide was his visions with Viserys over the last 2 episodes, to make sure that it was nothing personal. It was business. And I think that's when David realized, oh yeah, it is business. It wasn't personal at all. And with that realization, he is able to bend the knee to Rhaenyra, along with the visions that will show upcoming. What do you think of Damon's progression here? Because I definitely cheered for this. And this was a big payoff for all of those that were wondering what the heck is going to go on with this guy. And then he was such a badass character in season 1. And then season 2, where is he? And now, this is the end of it.
I knew this is going to happen, actually, because with all the dreams, when he touched the tree and he saw the visions of the future, and this, and then the Night King,
Right.
and even another one showing Daenerys with the 3 dragons, he saw the future, and then he saw himself. If he kept going the way he wanted, if in his personal pursuit, it will lead to his downfall, falling into the abyss.
Right.
So that's when he realizes that no matter how much he supposedly tried to be king, it's not going to get him there. Even Viserys has said, it's nothing personal. I'm just doing what's right for our line.
And I give credit to Alice. Alice was the one that really pulled it all together for Daemon to get him to this realization. Although I was wondering whether or not Alice is some type of astral projection of Helene, because both of them have that type of sight for the future. So I wonder if
Like
that was
Bran.
the case. I'm not sure. I can't prove it, but there was a scene that shifted right to Helena right after the future vision was shown, from Alice to Helena. So maybe it was, maybe it's not. Maybe we'll get more answers with that in season 3. Speaking of Helena, this is the scene that you were talking about, David, where Aemon is now being told of his future, which wasn't very pretty, and Helena having the foresight of the future. And they were dropping hints throughout the season, not as big as of a payoff of Daemon, but we saw this from the very beginning of her acting very weird and strange and odd, and then coming out of her shell and being forced her hand. And so I think that was very revealing to show her agency and to show her power to Aemon, because she's not just meek or cowering.
We saw the way she acted, that she acted off. I have a feeling, wait a minute, I think there's something more to it. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen to her. Now she has this power.
And then this is the bookend to what happened in episode 3, where Alicent and Rhaenyra met in King's Landing. Now we're in Dragonstone. Alicent basically going to Dragonstone and meeting with Rhaenyra, basically saying, oh, my bad. And Rhaenyra's, too late. Things are in motion. I can't really change it. But do you really trust Alicent? Because Alicent has screwed you over a couple of times already this season. Go ahead.
I don't blame Rhaenyra for trusting her word. Because that's that Alice find out, finally, the flaw of her whole life. She was just doing what she's told. She's even being told by her own sons what to do. Because of mistake. Firstly, she was being told by her father and to bed with the king. And when Viserys died, she was going on that lie because she heard it wrong. The Song of Ice and Fire, thinking that Aegon II is the princess promised, which is not. So from that, she just kept her mouth shut and let's see if things will work out. And it didn't. It got worse. She lost her grandson. Her other son is fading in a way. And Aemon is going too far. She wants to leave for what's left, which is her daughter Helena and her last grandkid. And Aaron, which is her other son. That's it. And get out of this life. But the Rhaenyra is thinking, are you being truthful?
Right.
Or this is some scheme? But then they come to an agreement that even Alicent says, you have my permission to execute Aegon.
Right. And I think that Alicent, who knows what's going to happen with her later on, but I think that she was genuine there. And you don't blame Rhaenyra for basically saying, you may be lying to me, you may be scheming against me. I don't even know anymore. But the fact that if she really wanted power, she would not have left. Or she would not have said that my life is basically irrelevant now. And so when Rhaenyra said the history is not going to be kind to you, I really don't care. Because I just want to be left alone for the rest of my life. So we'll see if that changes with the return of her father, who's in jail. And this was very interesting because I saw the intro and I was like, oh, Otto Hightower returns. I thought he would have a bigger role in this episode, but we only saw him at the very end. But we'll see how it goes with him and whether or not he comes back into power later on. Does he go to Team Green or does he go to Team Black? You never know.
Or none.
Exactly. But we did see the dragon that was flying through. I was wondering which dragon it was, and then they said it in the inside of the episode. They said it was Darren who was flying that dragon. Now, Variety came out with the article that they're only going to do 4 seasons. So we're basically halfway through this House of the Dragon experience. Now, people can speculate and read the books, and I've actually read ahead in terms of who's going to die, but we have seen in the past that they have changed some of the rules. And one of them that you mentioned before our recording was about Sunfire, right? Tell the audience a little bit about that.
For the viewers there who have read the books, you read what happened to Sunfire. Because in the books, he was still alive after the battle with Vhagar and Rhaenys's dragon. Mm-hmm. But Aegon confirmed it in this episode that my dragon is dead. Mm-hmm. So it makes me wonder, because in Game of Thrones Season 3, Episode 4, Joffrey mentioned to Sansa about a well-known queen, which is Queen Rhaenyra, that says that Queen Rhaenyra was killed by her brother, or rather, his dragon. Mm-hmm. If they're going to make that connection in the next 2 seasons, I'm wondering what they're going to do in order to show what's going to happen with Queen Rhaenyra. Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's going to be some more dropping of hints, because this was the beginning of the dropping of hints with Daemon's vision. There's probably going to be more of that. We didn't think that Viserys was going to come back, and he came back doing cameos. You never know what's going to happen in this world here. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up?
I only have one thing. Since you said there's going to be Season 3 and 4, I have a gut feeling, this is a trend nowadays, for shows who have one last season, they're going to do a 2-part season where they do very few episodes like the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year. How many episodes in each half of those seasons? So I don't know what they're gonna plan to do, because it's a lot. And there's also reports of other Game of Thrones spin-offs coming up as well. They said that there will be another one that's during the time of the Mad King, which is a direct prequel to the Game of Thrones. Right. And there was another project to tell what happened to Jon Snow. It will be called The Last Targaryen, but that got dropped.
Right. Well, yeah, in that same Variety article, they were talking about 3 live-action shows and 4 animated shows. So, yeah, they're going to try to milk this as much as possible. There's also going to be a lot of other content that's going to come out next year through HBO and also through Max. That's going to keep us waiting for Season 3. They have it all down to a science, so we don't have to worry about when is it going to come out. So that's what we think about House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 8, and House of the Dragon overall. Tell us what you think about this episode and about the season. Please comment down below, share, subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you in the next one. All right, everybody. Have a good one.